we're going to talk about testing and launching the site here. This is critical. I'm going to switch poll here too quick. It looks like 75% said you don't have any content planning tool. Actually, no one said they had a tool, which actually is kind of common. If you're going to be doing a redesign though, and you have quite a few pages, you have a lot of content, I would highly recommend at least looking at some type of tool to help with that. So I'll launch another poll here about brand and voice guides. So testing and launching. Of course, when you launch your new website, you want it to work flawlessly. And there's some critical steps with before you launch and testing. So the main things for your approach for testing is you want to make sure that whatever target browsers and target devices that your audience is going to be using, and you can find that out by reviewing Google Analytics of your current site, right? Make sure that the new site is going to work really well in these browsers and platforms that you're targeting. Definitely test your site well in mobile. Make sure that it works well on mobile, even if, say, your particular audience is not huge, the mobile audience isn't huge. Mobile is very important to Google. So if you do want your website to be found in Google and you want a lot of visibility online, you do need to be mobile friendly. So test that. Also test the speed with a tool like Page Speed Insights, which is a free Google tool, or some tool. Make sure that you haven't accidentally used photos that are way too big and it'll be slow down your site. And definitely test accessibility for sure. You want to make sure there's no accessibility problems. So a tool that we use quite often, which is probably beyond what you would use as a nonprofit. We use a tool called Sauce Labs for testing. And Sauce Labs is fairly expensive, but what it lets us do is emulate any device we want. We can use this tool to launch, a very specific screen size laptop with a specific version of Chrome with a specific resolution, and we can launch that and test the entire site with that as it was that device. And there's mobile too, so this is phenomenal testing tool. It's something we usually utilize with our clients, but most nonprofits, you probably won't have your own Sauce Labs account. I talked about this just a little while ago, Page Speed Insights, testing your site for speed. So this is a redesign we recently did, a National Mentoring Resource Center. And site speed not only provides, of course, users a good experience, just being on your site and it's fast, but Google now really cares about site performance and speed. Google doesn't want to send its search engine users, to a site that's going to be really slow. So definitely double check the speed. This tool checks both mobile and desktop speed. We typically keep all of our sites in the 90s, but a benchmark is your mobile should be at least 60 or above. So it's a scale of 0 to 100. So mobile should be 60 or above. We usually say desktop 80 or above. And then, of course, test accessibility. So this is that same website. This is the National Mentoring Resource Center, and this is that tool I mentioned, that website WebAIM. So this is another tool they have called Wave, and you can put in a URL in Wave, and it will test the whole site, the whole page for accessibility. So you can see here, this is their home page. They have 0 accessibility arrows and 0 contrast errors. So this site, from an accessibility perspective, is very good. So it looks like the poll for the brand and voice, it looks like 50% of you have sort of a brand voice style guide and 50% don't. So definitely something to think about, having some kind of guide for that. Let's switch this poll here actually to the last poll. So another thing before you launch is some SEO considerations. And we already have been talking about SEO the whole time as far as creating your content, making sure it's optimized for that. However, there's some SEO considerations during the launch process, right? A big one is the links. So we talked about the structure at the very beginning of the webinar. You're creating a new structure for your site. So things may have moved around. Maybe your donation page has moved, contact page, locations page. So if you have other links out there on the internet that were going to your old site, you want to make sure those still go to the new relevant page in the new redesign. So you're going to do that with what's called 301 redirects. So that's a big SEO consideration. You want to review the metadata, meaning the page title and descriptions of your pages. You want to make sure that you have a sitemap, your sitemap file, which is a file Google reads in order to understand your website and find every page. You want to make sure that's working. And you want to do a final audit before you launch with some kind of tool to make sure you haven't accidentally created any broken links or things like that. So it's very, very typical for a website's traffic to kind of take a dive right after a redesign. Traffic levels will go down. Even if the redesign is very successful, you still will see maybe a little bit of a dip. But if you have major SEO issues, like you did not do redirects, you're missing a sitemap file, then that dip in traffic can be much worse and it can last longer. So definitely during the launch process, you want to double check all these SEO issues.